What? When I walk in? What is it?
We're teaching Adam that the NBA of the 80s would beat the NBA of
Or
today.
we just
They can play with them. It's not even necessarily beat them. It's just they can run with them.
And Merry Christmas to you, John.
I love you. This is what you guys get to do every day. I'm gonna do this when I'm done coaching. Oh boy, how we doing? Good. Good.
How much easier is it, Josh, as you build a program in a franchise, that you're sticking with your process, but when you're showing them tape and it's tape of winning, how much does that help? Just the mindset.
Yeah, I think it. They want to see it work. I think all of us when we're growing up and being taught something, whether it's school or playing a competitive sport, you want to see yourself have success. And sometimes I think it's a lot easier to acclimate to what you're being told when you're seeing somebody else do it on video or what have you. So there's nothing better than when you get them to have the success, and then that pounds home the process and the message you've been giving them. If we do this right, we're probably going to get good results. And so we've gotten that off and on throughout the course of the season so far. And I think the more we get it, the more contagious it becomes, and guys really are tapped into trying to do the little things right that may give us an advantage.
a lot of your players have talked about that 86-yard run by Josh as being a kind of an example of that. It wasn't one block that sprung him; it was everybody who sprung him.
Yeah.
It was basically everybody doing their job. Is that kind of what you're trying to hang your head on?
Yeah, I mean, look, you can't produce plays like that with one man. Every good football play, has good fundamentals involved in it, and usually great effort. And so, when you're watching a play have success, it's certainly not. You can't win with 3 or 4 guys doing something right and the other 6 or 7 not. It's impossible. And so, I think that play was a really good example. I thought we've had a lot of good plays like that in all 3 phases, where you start to see, like, if all 11 of us do it pretty well, the way we're trying to do it, success usually follows. And I think that's common for all the teams. Every team we play, it's the same thing. When they do something really well, it's usually the result of a lot of people doing it right.
Coach, when you look, I know it's a long time ago from week 1 to now, but when you look at that team that went against the Chargers week 1 to now, what would you say is the biggest improvement that you've noticed out of the locker room?
Probably the understanding of how we take the game week and try to apply it to win the game. We didn't have a whole lot of exposure to it prior to then. We had done some things in the preseason, but certainly not everybody had played. And you always come into a game week with an idea of what you want to try to do to achieve victory. And I think that was our first example of that, in real live, action. And so there were some things in that game that we certainly didn't do well enough to deserve to win. And so I think our team has learned over the course of 3 or 4 months here, we got to do these things right, and that's the same with, like I said, every team has those, whatever they think is most important. But, whether it's ball security, tackling, pass rush discipline, kick coverage, whatever it is, there's certain things in the game that you're going to place a little bit bigger emphasis on. And if you do them right, then you probably give your team a chance to win.
Same note, the offensive line was in a much different place in week 1. You were still, rotating guys mid-game, figuring out who was going to start where. How much growth have you seen from that unit in particular since then?
Significant, and I know we had spent a lot of time talking about that over the course of months about what we were trying to get to, and we ultimately arrived at a group that's now starting to string together a number of games in a row together. I know Colton missed the one, but consistency, communication, working together with one another, understanding, pass protection, double teams, zone blocking, pulling plays. There's a lot that goes into it. And those 5 guys, work usually in unison with one another on every play. Sometimes receivers and the tight end, they're on opposite sides of the field. They're not really working together, but those 5 guys work together basically on every play, and it's really important for them to gain that chemistry. There's little things that they're saying to each other before the ball snapped on every play there's things that they're saying to each other after the ball snapped, and how they say it and the communication and what they're getting used to. Over time, I'm sure that there's a comfort level that they've developed. I can see that, and I think they can too.
They haven't made some of the same decisions they made in the past in terms of fourth downs and 2-point conversion, aggression necessarily. But when you do play a team that is, a little bit unorthodox in the way that they approach things, is there a different way to prepare or kind of plan for how that might go?
I think your mindset needs to be ready to treat third down like second down, and and expect every one of those situations to be something that they could choose to do. And I think that going into the game, that's just the best way to go about it. It doesn't mean you have to change your call or your philosophy, but we watched, we saw the very end of the Jacksonville-Baltimore game, this morning, because we were talking about a situation and trying to teach about, what we would want to do. But there's another one, you score and they could kick the extra point or they could go for two. It's the same thing that the Chargers did last week in Arizona. So I think it starts with just, not assuming anything, and running off the field like, oh, you're going to kick the extra point, then you got to run back on the field, and, those kind of things could happen. Each third down, if it ends up in a third or a fourth and short, we just need to, we're going to go through all of our checklists and make sure that we're good to go. Are they kicking it? Is the punter on? Is the offense going to the line of scrimmage? Because they do some of that too, where they use tempo. So we just have to have great anticipation that it's going to happen. And when it doesn't, then go ahead and make the correct substitution and play the situation out.
I was talking to Mac Wolins in the locker room about when the team was losing and you're a captain, how do you coach your younger players? And then how do you do it when you win? And he said it's the exact same. You're a professional. You got to come in and just do your job. Don't be too high or too low. Mm-hmm. How does it help you as a coach when your captains are echoing your beliefs?
Yeah, it's they've been tremendous all year. Very deserving of the honor that they received initially, and then I think they've really cemented, that vote and the way that their teammates felt about them with the way they've behaved, what they've done, how they've led, the kind of energy and urgency that they've brought. Zero panic, and just great professionals, all of them. And so the consistency that they have, I think, has really seeped into the locker room, and they've basically shown or told the younger players who are watching them, this is how you do it. And I think that's the best thing that they could do, and they continue to do it every day.
Coach, sorry, go ahead.
Pretty good feel for Nate and Josh.
Hobbs?
Yeah, Nate.
Yeah, let's hope nobody gets sick here. But, Nate's had a good week so far, and hopefully we have a good day today, but have a good idea that if that keeps trending the right way, that's what's going to happen.
And in terms of Josh,
Hopeful, too. Same thing.
it's a quick turnaround to the Rams. So does that in the thought process with somebody like Josh and with what he's dealing with? Or
I think we just make smart decisions for the player. Obviously, their health comes first, and so as long as he's good to go for the game, or any player's good to go for this game, I think you have to treat this game as its own entity. We understand what's happening next week. We can't really control that, and I think, we're in a one game at a time part of the year now, so we're going to do what we can do, the best we can do it to try to, be victorious on Sunday, and then we'll deal with the aftermath after the game.
Coach, Keenan Allen had some things to say about your defensive backs yesterday. Obviously, when those things happen, are those things that get on the player's radar, on your radar, and does that add to a rivalry, make things kind of more interesting sometimes?
I have a great deal of respect for Keenan. He's done a lot of great things in our league, and I think our players have the same respect for him. Sometimes things are said like that, and you can use it as motivation, certainly, but I don't think it really has much to do with what's going to happen between the lines. We'll just, look, he'll be ready to play. I know he will. I've competed against him a number of times, and our guys are getting ready to play too, and I know we're going to give it our best effort. So we'll see. It's already a rivalry.
You guys all set?
Yes, sir.
Good to go? Okay. Anybody going to USC? Are you going to USC?